Good morning. Hello. And it's Monday, and what a beautiful Monday it is, because up until now it has been so windy on the boat that it's actually a little bit of a respite today, which is really lovely. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about creativity, but I also wanted to paint a sunflower with you. We're going to do the sunflower over 3 days because we need some drying time and we don't want to spend several hours together. If we do want to spend several hours together, please do put a comment below and let me know that that's what you want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a look at sunflowers, and I'm going to share with you my top site for getting great images. It's a free copyright site. Also going to show you how to start a sunflower, which is a transferable skill. You can use the same skill to start an iris or that's the extent of my flower knowledge. Insert your flower below as well. That'd be really helpful in case people actually want some help painting a different kind of flower. I also have already got a YouTube tutorial on sunflower painting where I teach my wife Kath from the very beginning how to paint her first ever sunflower, and we still stayed married after it. But then we decided we perhaps wouldn't paint together that much anymore. Okay, I'm going to share with you my page now and let you know exactly how I'm starting so that you can start the same. I'm starting with a squirrel paintbrush, but if you don't have one, a round sable paintbrush would work just as well. The squirrel paintbrush will hold quite a lot of water, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this whole page eventually with colour. But what we want to do first of all is we want to start with the circle of the sunflower, and we want to make that in water. You want to make it so that your circle is with clean water and it's not a puddle, it just makes the paper shiny. Then what we're going to do is we're going to layer some colours onto it based on what we learnt last week about our transparency, and hopefully what you learnt by yourself after we finished working together about transparency as well, and which colours move which colours. I'm starting with the orange, and this is the middle of the sunflower. Now, did you notice that I'm just dotting around the sunflower? And hello, if you've just joined me, I am live on Facebook, but I have both my cameras turned around a different way today. So if you are writing comments, I will definitely check the comments after I finish my painting. But at the moment, all I can do is kind of say hi, give me a love heart so I can see them going all over the screen. Okay, so starting with orange, and that's going to, if you remember, that's going to blend itself out. And I'm also going to go in with a tiny bit of yellow. Yellow will take over, so you really just want to be quite considerate where you drop it. This is getting wetter and wetter and wetter, and what you don't want it to do is turn into mud. So if you have to, between putting your colours in, just dry off your paintbrush a little bit. Okay, I'm going into the ochre colour now. Remember, it's a colour that likes to sit on the top, so I don't want to start with it in this case. You can kind of see it here, it's already starting. Then I'm going to go in with sienna, a reddy brown, and that colour just goes with everything. And I'm taking it around the outside. You can see it moving the colours there. But I also want to make an extra circle here in the middle. So I'm starting my extra circle. And I'm also leaving, see these bits here that are a little bit lighter? I'm leaving them with less paint on it, and even some of them have the paper because I don't want to create one overall flat surface. I'm not blending a sunset background like what we did on Friday. Okay, now here's the fun bit. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. All right, you will enjoy this. Now, I'm going to do a petal. I've got clean water on my brush. I'm putting the clean water at the tip of the petal, and I'm taking it down both ways, and then I'm going to tip the end of my sunflower. And that colour is going to grow into the petal. And I'm going to do that around the center. So I was going to talk to you about where I get my images from for painting, because I can't come up with everything in my head. I would imagine there are some artists that can, that maybe have photographic memories. If you know me well, or if you've been following maybe the Narrowboat experience a bit, you'd know that my memory is not great. So, you know, memorizing anything, yet alone a whole picture, is nearly impossible. So I use this great free site, and it's called Unsplash. And I type into Unsplash the picture that I want. So in this case, I type in sunflowers, and it comes up with all these free images that photographers have donated or allow you to use in any of your work, so that it's copyright free. Can you see here that this has made a big puddle, and it's too much water? So what I've done is I've wet my paintbrush a little bit, but now I've just dried it off, and I'm going to put it into my puddle, and I'm going to just take off some of that water because it was an optimistic amount of water. And you can do the same around with any of them. So this is the wet on wet layer. Some of these will start to dry as we're speaking, and that just ends up looking nice, and there's a bit of a difference in the texture. So now we want to go back into our middle with a little bit of purple. Let me zoom you out as well so you can kind of see which colours I'm using every now and then. We're going to take a few purple dots. They're going to spread out a bit for the middle of the sunflower, and then we're going to put our purple on the bits that join the petals to the middle bit. I don't know my flower anatomy well enough to be any more instructional than that. Okay. So that looks lovely to start with, but you can see our petals don't have any colour, so we're going to not go straight in with the yellow, which is what you would assume we would do. We're going to create a transparency of our orange, which just means I'm going to add a little bit more water to my orange than using it pure. And I'm going to take my paintbrush on the side, and I'm just going to dot the orange. The trick here is to decide which side of your sunflower is going to be hitting the light. I've decided this is going to be the lighter part of my sunflower, so I'm putting my darker areas over this side. But you know, if that's a step too far for you today, it's not going to matter. Just dab in your orange, dab in some ochre. Now ochre is going to slow everything down because it's remember from our transparency, it's one of those ones that doesn't play well with others. And I'm just putting that in the middle because I don't want all of my colour to end up in the middle. And now I'm going to go in with my yellow, but I'm actually changing my paintbrushes over. The squirrel paintbrush will hold a lot more water, and I don't really want to keep adding water to this sunflower. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of my yellow. And a little bit of yellow goes a long way if you're using the right kind of yellow. And then I'm taking my yellow from my tips. I'm not going all the way down my petal. I want these white spaces. These white spaces are going to create depth. We're going to finish this sunflower in 3 sittings. I think, having not finished a sunflower, it might only take 2, but I think it's going to take 3 because there's, today I wanted to talk all about creativity, and I just wanted you to play with the paint and the water. But come tomorrow and Wednesday, we wanted to talk a little bit more about skill. Okay, I've got a puddle forming over here, so I'm just going to take that off. Take some of my puddles off. Okay, and I'm going to go back into the middle again with an orange. You see how we're building up those layers slowly in the middle of our sunflower. Again, just as you notice that the middle of your sunflower is shiny, it's not super, super wet, you can go in with, I'm going in with a darker orange. And again, I'm just putting a hint of a circle in there. I haven't done any of those kind of traditional paint your fence kind of brush strokes. You don't want to keep working it while it's really, really wet because you'll just end up with mud. Okay, now we want to get back to our purple. We want to put the purple back into where we meet the petals. You can see what's happened. What happens with watercolor is as it dries, it actually dries lighter. So you really need to understand what the color looks like when you apply it and kind of have in your mind what it's going to look like when it's dry, because and that just comes from experience. So I'm just encouraging some of the purple. You can see here it's starting to dry here, so that's not going to move at all. But if you wanted it to move, you just get a little bit of clean water and you'd go over your, and that will go over a little bit of the dry bit, and that will encourage it to move. Now you want to go with your purple, and you want to start putting your purple in some of your tips. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're really just playing. If you end up deciding, oh, I just want to put my purple down like that, that's not a problem. Just do it like that. Do it whichever way you find is the nicest thing. I want you to kind of cast your mind back to last Monday when we were just painting our autumn leaves. This is exactly the same technique, but instead of filling our page with a heap of autumn leaves, we're just filling it with a giant sunflower. The other thing I want to add to my sunflower is some green on the lighter part of the tip, because as the leaf becomes a little bit transparent, you can see the green through it. And I'm sneaking up on the lighter side of my petal. Remember, I decided this was going to be my lighter side. And I'm just applying it. Again, you apply it however your own brush strokes are. These are my brush strokes. Brush strokes are really personal to people. You can't copy somebody's brush strokes. I've tried. There's other artists that I watch and I think, oh, that's just gorgeous. And then I can't do it because you don't have the same muscle memory in your hand. So this is a very yellowy green. I've just got a bit of green and I've mixed it with a little bit of extra yellow. And again, I'm just coming in over here to create my circle. And that's going to start drying. What we want to do is, let me just check. I wanted to do a stem while it was still drying. So I've just got a green and it's a bit thicker than the other things, but that's okay. And I'm doing a kind of leaf over here. And then I wanted to do one that came out from the petal. I saw this picture on Unsplash and I thought I would try that. Okay. Remember, same technique as when we did our autumn leaves. We're just putting paint on paper. Okay, now what I want to do is, what I like to do is have some of the petal bleeding into the background, because this is a 3-day sunflower. This is just the first layer. So I've got my clean water and I'm starting my clean water on my page, and then I'm going to sneak up to a bit of the sunflower. Not all of it. You don't want all of it to spread across your page. And then that's fine. That bit there that we wet, that nothing's going to happen to, that can just stay wet. Let me show you over this side. So here's some water. And then when we sneak up to it, that leaks out. I really like that. It looks, just trust me on this one, it looks really good after you've done your other layers as well. So we just want a couple of them. You don't want to go crazy with it. You just kind of, I think the reason I like this is because you just want the sunflower to look like it's fallen on the page. It's just gone plop in watercolour. And I think that's where I wanted to mention creativity while we're playing around now. Lots of people think creativity is skill or talent, or not skill. People think you're born with it. And then they think, oh, I tried this sunflower this one time with this Australian on a boat and it didn't work. But then I see somebody else's sunflower and I think, oh, you know, they're just so much more talented than me. And it's really not the case. Like, anybody can learn to paint. It's just whether or not you have the desire and whether or not you have the time to practice it. And when you're practicing, and this is the key point, when you're practicing, you need to be without your ego. So you need to practice with the thought that you're never showing this to anybody else. And it is hard for me to kind of get online and to paint live, because I have an ego as well, and you know, I run a whole art practice from you know, from my boat, and I do commissions and portraits and things like that, and the process, it's not a 20-minute process. Like, we're getting together at the moment to share things and to support each other, but actually you have to leave your ego at the door to go live. You definitely have to do that. You have to leave your ego at the door to start a painting, because as soon as you start getting up in your head and saying things like, oh, I'm not as good as I wanted, or I used to be really good at this, what's happened? Well, what's happened is painting and creating is a muscle memory. And so if you haven't done it for a while, maybe you've joined the group recently and you're like, oh, I haven't painted for ages, or I haven't drawn for ages, or crocheted, or whatever it is. It's going to take you a little while to kind of get back into the swing of it. And you're going to have, the only way you're going to be able to do it is if you leave your ego at the door. If you don't even think, I'm going to show this to someone, I'm going to give it as a present, I'm going to sell it. You know, a lot of the paintings that I end up starting with, I never think I'm going to sell them. I'm always like, oh, this one I'll just hang up on my wall, it'll be lovely. So I'm going to pause there. I think I'm really happy with that as a start. And I think if I put any extra colours on it, it would start to turn into mud. So I'll just show you, am I on the camera to show them quickly? Show you quickly. I quite like it. I don't know. I love the wet on wet technique, because I love it when the paint chases the other paint colours around the page and you put something on. Everybody in the comments below type what would happen if I put some Prussian blue on this painting right now. And it's just that kind of knowledge that you know how your watercolor palette moves, and you don't have to know the names of these colors. I genuinely do not know most of the names of my colors. You just need to know how the colors that you like work, and the only way you're going to know that is by being creative and by experimenting and by playing and by practicing. So the other thing I wanted to show you was something I've been practicing, which are these waves. And you might look at this, I want to show you this one. You might look at this one. On big screen or little screen? You might look at this one and think, oh, well, that's lovely. But actually, this took 3 other, well, you might not even say it's lovely, but this one was actually the 3rd of these practices. And I just wanted to share that with you because I've been practicing waves for my membership, and my members have that have their art lessons with me have asked to learn how to paint waves. And so I've been going in trying to practice the best way to teach the actual lesson, and that's been really fun for me. But also I've made several mistakes, and so it's been really good to kind of see that, you know, I've tried to create these different ways of doing these waves, and that just comes down to practice and not having an ego and trying to be creative and celebrating the little mistakes that happen that end up making something better. So give me a love heart if you agree with that. And I'm also going to pause my live here because I think the sunflower needs to dry. We cannot do anything further with it. You're going to see as it dries, the colors are going to blend to the spot that they blend to until they get dry, which is awesome. And now I want you to, for homework, I want you to start your sunflower, because the next 2 days we are going to be building onto this painting to really make something that you are just really excited by. Whether or not it turns out to be the best sunflower painting you've ever done doesn't matter. We're going to do something that means that you can enjoy that creative process. And we're also going to keep each other company in the morning at 10:30 in the morning. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you tomorrow at 10:30. Remember your homework. Remember, do something that surprises you, make mistakes, and you must share this, because sharing a picture of this first layer of your sunflower is what's going to reduce your ego. Okay, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.